Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about refugee resettlement in Tennessee and across the country. Good panel up here. Binyad was specifically affected by this, but it was much bigger than one person, right? There were many people who were affected. And I guess walk us through that. How many do you think were impacted?
Well, I can say when the initial refugee and travel ban came down in, it was late January 2017, which really shut off travel for everyone. Even people with green cards were affected. There were hundreds of people who were trying to travel, who were lawful permanent residents who lived here, work here, have their families here, and all their property here, who were stuck. And you know, several lawsuits were filed challenging the travel ban. And that first round, all of those were about people who were stuck. Either they were in Binyad's situation where they were stuck in a foreign airport, they were stuck in their home airport. Some were stuck in the United States. They made it here, but they couldn't get through customs before the ban went in effect. So they were literally being held in this kind of international no man's land while the court sorted this all out. So there were thousands of people that were affected personally by the ban when it went into effect, and then I think probably much more with the lasting effects of it.
And you're saying families were and remain apart. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely, because of the lowered refugee ceiling. So, you know, last year or the year before, we were on track to settle about 110,000 refugees, and this year the ceiling is at 45,000, but we're actually only on track to resettle 15,000. And so there are families who are waiting to be reunited with their loved ones. There are refugees who had gone through the extensive vetting process, had their ticket in hand, but now their security clearance has lapsed, and so they're stuck back overseas with nothing, because they had planned, they were about to get on a plane. And yeah, so it's been really devastating. We've been getting a lot of calls, a lot of feelings of anxiety from refugees here in Tennessee who want to be reunited with their loved ones. And then we've also heard of, you know, really serious cases of depression and even suicide of refugees who are stuck back because they've lost everything. Where do we stand now? So in the news, I've seen it was overturned, and then it was reinstated, and it's overturned, and it's kind of hard to know. Where do things stand right now? Yeah,
right now, as we speak, the travel ban, which would affect people who want to come to the United States on any kind of visa, is in full effect, and and that will be heard by the Supreme Court on April 25th. The oral arguments are set then. Currently, there's a ban on refugees from certain countries, most of them Muslim majority countries, and the courts have stayed that, so that's working its way through the court system right now. Then there's the fact of just national immigration policy, and as Lisa said several times, you know, the president and the executive branch have a lot of control over how many refugees are resettled there, and they can set this ceiling. So that's kind of in flux, and that depends on the policies of this administration, the policies of Congress. You know, there's a midterm election, so policies can change. But certainly that is totally in the control of the government. The courts can't come in and say, well, you must let more refugees in. Right now the president, because of an act of Congress, has that authority to say we're going to have a ceiling at this many, and right now it's what, 45,000. So, and we're not on track to even resettle that many. So that's not something that's going to get sorted out by the Supreme Court. It's going to be sorted out by good old-fashioned politics.
500. I mean, you gave numbers in Tennessee that at one point it was 2,500, I guess a couple of years ago, and now this year we're on track for 500. Yeah. So the numbers are down dramatically, and I don't know that people understand that. Yeah. Those aren't numbers people hear a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly small. It's the lowest in the history of the refugee resettlement program. It's really shamefully low. There are thousands of people who are in desperate need of safety and security, who are facing torture and violence, who are fleeing war and persecution for their political beliefs, their religious beliefs. And that is the essence of America, is to be that beacon of hope for those people. And because of the lowered refugee ceiling, we're turning them away.
And is that what, I mean, you're aware of that acutely, right?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, there's a quote that says, nobody leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. So these people, many of them would be happy to go back if in their home country situations would get better and that they could live safely without fear of persecution or anything else. People come to the United States because it's the land of the free, land of opportunities, and it's where the American dream can be realized. And unfortunately, all these obstacles in front of refugees where they stay for decades in camps, that sort of halts their development, their growth to realizing their dreams. Once they come here, they've forgotten a lot of their skills and are basically it's much more harder for them to be integrated back into society because it's so hard and it takes so long and they've been through so much trauma.
And where do you see things going? I guess how optimistic are you things are going to change? I mean, when you have the Tennessee General Assembly passing a resolution halting all refugee resettlement. So here you have the majority of people in the Tennessee legislature, the majority of lawmakers voting for that. How do you see things going?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I do feel optimistic about the future. One of the good things about all of this is that we've had an outpouring of support from people who want to be welcoming, who have like woken up to what's going on, who have poured in volunteer hours and donations. We had over 200 people welcome Benyad and his family at the Nashville airport, and so I feel like there is still widespread support for refugee resettlement, and I think it's now up to us and all Americans who want to ensure that we're fulfilling our values to reach out to our members of Congress and urge them to work to ensure that that ceiling is raised.
All right, we're going to take a break. We will come back. We'll wrap everything up, take a break, be back right after this.